You know, as Lean Six Sigma professionals, we look at our processes from the standpoint of continuous improvement. I know that's kind of a revolving phrase with this, but in the implementing solutions phase, this is where the rubber meets the road. Now, some key strategies for success in implementing these solutions is developing a communication plan, right? What's a tailored message for, where you're going to identify and talk to different stakeholder groups? How are you going to regularly update those people? And how are you going to have open channels for feedback and collaboration? We talk about training, customized training for employees to understand new approaches and processes and new technologies. Oftentimes, well, I'll talk about that a little bit as soon as I get done. So we then pilot our results. When we pilot the results, we're testing solutions on a small scale before fully implementing them to assess effectiveness and make necessary adjustments along the way, right? When we talk about training, I want to go back to that. In training, we often sometimes put a cookie cutter approach to it. And a lot of that's because there's so much that goes into communicating training to professionals and organizations. Having a customized approach is really going to help you and train your team. When you train your team, some of the things you want to have is customized content, right? It needs to be tailored directly to your process, right? I can teach a Lean Six Sigma program in this sense, but when I go into organizations and I teach it, I develop it around their processes. I try to include role-based scenarios. And how can we identify any type of skill gaps that we have, right? And we kind of do kind of a revolving door around these three things in training Six Sigma teams. So train your team. Remember, your team should be a group of cross-functional individuals. When we talk about leadership support, we talk about follow-up resources, right? What are some follow-up resources, some documentation, some SOPs, some guidelines, some kind of keynotes to leave students with, or be employees with, not students. That leadership, they're going to be involved in mentoring and coaching processes, right? As Lean Six Sigma Green Belts, that's kind of your job, is to mentor your team. Black Belts, they'll be more of that 30,000 foot view, but they're still mentoring those Green Belts that work under them. And overall, we want to, as leaders, create a culture of continuous improvement. Well, how do we do that? How do we create a culture of continuous improvement? Well, a lot of it is going to be documenting and implementing success. So some keys to making success, this Six Sigma successful during the improvement phase is strategizing. Start with a clear definition of what you aim for in a process. And with that, we talk about SMART goals, right? That's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. When we do this, we can anticipate risk. We can anticipate potential obstacles that can get in the way during the implementation process. And when we strategize this is where we start to see the most growth in our process. So we strategize our ideas, and we're going to engage our team. When we engage our team, we're talking about inclusivity in the planning. We're bringing multiple aspects or multiple people from different parts of the organization and on this project. Because one thing we don't want to do is make a unilateral decision and nobody's on the same page with it. Because number one, your process isn't going to be sustainable. It's going to fall apart. That training and empowerment, providing that comprehensive understanding and tools and the resources to make Six Sigma happen in that improvement phase is key. When you engage your team, one of the things that I talk about the most is recognition and rewards. Rewarding people for their contributions to the project, celebrating those milestones to improve morale. Overall, the last thing I want to leave you with when implementing some strategies for solutions is communication. Create that transparent, open communication and give that open line of dialogue. That way we can be transparent about the goals, the progress, and challenges. When we have feedback mechanisms, they can act on these feedback mechanisms to continuously improve and address any concerns as we're going along. During that communication phase, we want to provide updates on the process, including stakeholders, including the team members, the management that might be affected, or anyone else in that sense. We can use a variety of these channels to ensure that the message, reaches everyone. And this overall allows us to celebrate our success. So in implementing solutions, you have to strategize, engage your team, and communicate those changes. Overall, when we implement the solutions, this is that phase where it's going to be trial and error, right? Not everything's going to be 100% perfect, right? But we're trying to just improve the process just a little bit. Sometimes people get blogged, they get really lost in trying to make massive amounts of changes, right? And at the end of the day, that's not going to happen. It may, but it's going to take a massive amount of resources to do it. Focus on making those little goals, those little improvements in the process, and then come back to them periodically, do annual reviews, do annual audits, and see how that baseline metric can be improved. I want to thank you guys for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the control phase.